good. Let's see.
He really got some.
Looks like he does.
Oh, I thought he was...
Is he gonna go into this line? Oh yeah, a flounder. Look at that monster too. All right, first up, Christmas is coming up, and you need to get some Sands in the Surf merch. That's right, one of those glasses or those bathing suits. Come on, you know you need a puffer shirt. Let's go. Hey, there's a link below. There's a link somewhere. You can find a link and buy your favorite Fisher Person A Sands in the Surf merch. Hey, we went out to Caswell Beach one last time for the Rec Zone surf fishing class. We do about 4 a year, and this was the last one of the season, and I'm telling you what, it was a good one. Check this out. This kid was in the class. Did you get one already? Oh, it could be the weight. Oh.
How big is it, Mason?
Oh, good. Let's see.
He really got some.
Looks like he does.
Oh, I thought he was...
Look at that monster too.
That's a big flounder.
That is a huge flounder. I thought they were extinct. I honestly didn't even know.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're saving the good meat for themselves. Okay.
So as you can see, we have a lot of fun at the Rec Zone fishing class, surf fishing class, and he caught the flounder on this. It's actually a lure that he got as part of the fishing class. We got a little bucket of goodies sometimes, and he got the lure, and he was just casting it off the beach. And right after that, he hooked up onto another one, a halfway decent pompano. So like I said, we have a lot of fun out there. Usually about 20 people, 25 I think is the top of the class. Friday night in class session, I show a PowerPoint. I talk about a lot of different things, how to catch fish, mostly just primary talking about catching fish in the surf, right? It's a surf fishing class, and the techniques you can use to do what he's doing right here, catch some decent fish. Saturday morning, we go to Caswell Beach, sometimes 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, stay till about 10, and it's the on the beach session where we actually do what we're doing right here, which is fishing. So we catch a lot of different fish, and it's fun because like you can talk about stuff in class, but when you're out there catching them, and like this stingray here, and it's like, okay, well, how do I deal with this stingray, right? And I show like I just take the pliers here, put it on the barb, and drag them back into the water. So like it's the stuff like when you're actually on the beach catching the fish, you can learn a lot more than just sitting in the class, but you get both, which is great. And so we catch a lot of fish. So check out this whiting here. Decent sized whiting. She was like, oh, little fish. I'm like, that's not a little, that's a decent whiting. When we get it down, we notice there's actually, so we're using circle hooks, which usually catch in the corner of the mouth, but this one had another hook with a line. You can see it right there hanging out of its mouth. So it had eaten the circle hook, and then it ate this line as well. So we just cut that and set that fish free, and that hopefully will rust out after a little bit of a while. All right, so there's been, I can't see any bait. I did bring my cast net, and I got some bigger hooks on this double drop, but I've heard reports there are puffer out here, puffer. So I'm not gonna go for the, I know I can get a blue, probably get a Spanish. I know I can get whiting. I just saw a guy over there catch a whiting, but you know what? I want a puffer. I'm gonna get a puffer. So I'm gonna trade out these 3/0 hooks I got on here now. 3/0, put minnow on that, and I'm gonna put shrimp. I'm gonna do a 1/0, put a shrimp on there, and I'm gonna catch a puffer. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, let's do it. I'm gonna catch a puffer for dinner. Let's go. So to start with, I'm fishing in a hole. It's hard to tell, but this beach comes around, and where I'm standing out in the water there is about 2 inches of water, and over here is about 4 feet of water. There's a big hole right here, and I'm just standing on this little kind of sandbar on the side. So look for structure like that. Number 2, I'm using small hooks like I mentioned. Here's my 1/0 hook. That's the difference between a 1/0 and a 3/0. And here is me tying my double drop rigs. Look, I'm going to try this. The rabbit goes in the hole. I'm going to pinch it down right there, and I'm going to wrap this tag end around 7 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Keep the line tight. Take that tag end and that little hole right there that was left over from when I cinched down on it. I go in that hole, and it forms another hole, and I go back out that hole, and I just push the whole thing down, cinch it down, and that is my best knot that I know how to make. Maybe I'll cut the tag end off. So I don't know if that was easy to see or not. You can watch a lot of videos on how to tie improved clinch knots. So I got some frozen bait from Clem's. It was heads on still, so I'm getting the heads off, and I'm just cutting into like about 3 pieces, small little pieces. There's a curve in the shrimp. There's a curve in the hook. I just match it, and I go in as if I was doing a worm until the hook comes right out the bottom. Put my finger there. I can feel the hook. That's how I put my shrimp on, and they usually stay on pretty good. So got the shell on. The fish are going to peck at that shell, peck, and then they're going to hit it. That's the idea, right? So we're trying to get some puffer, give that a nice cast out right there into the middle of that hole, and catch some puffer, right? And then I see on the beach some sand fleas. Now, it is late in the season, and they don't have, I like sand fleas that have eggs in them, and that's all. They're done with that. But they're still there, which was pretty crazy. So I found a little colony, and I didn't have my sand scooper, so I just had to dig in with my hands, and I could feel them in there, and I was just digging in this little colony spot, picking them up, and sticking them in my other hand, and you can see, I'll show you one right here. Come out. Where is he? Oh, there he is. All right, so you can see they're pretty big. And kind of maybe too big, but I just put them in I had a little container that had frozen shrimp in it at one point, so I just had that empty container, and I threw them in there. Just snipping the tail off there to let a little bit more scent out, right? Because I got the frozen shrimp, not as good as fresh shrimp. It would be better than frozen shrimp, but I got the frozen shrimp, I got the sand fleas, I had a couple of fish bites, so I'm giving a little smorgasbord, right? Getting something to work with, and it did work. Look, I caught a whiting, not a very big whiting, but there's fish in the hole. That's what that means. So I caught this whiting, and of course, like every video, I'm going to drop him because why? Because whiting are slippery. They're very slippery. It's not me, it's them. They're slippery. So I knew there were fish there, and I caught another fish. Now check this one out. At first, you're going to think it's a pompano, and I did too. As I pulled it down, I looked at it, but then when I got it off the hook, I noticed that it was not a pompano. This is actually a Jack Crevalle. Now you can tell because when I hold it here, you're going to see there are 2 dorsal fins on top. I don't know if you can tell. There's one right there's one. And there's a second one. And pompano do not have 2, so that is actually Jack. Looks very much like a pompano and can easily be mistaken for one. About the same size as the ones I usually catch. Speaking of which, right after that, I did catch another one, and this one is a pompano. So now you're going to see the difference as I take the hook off and hold it down. There was only 1 very large dorsal fin on the top there, not 2. So that is the difference between the pompano and the Jack. Pompano tastes good. Jacks taste bad. That's another difference. And then as I was doing that, another fish hit the line, and Kim was like, "Oh, fish on the line, fish on the line." So she decided to reel it in, and she thought she had a monster on there, but it was a little smaller than we expected. So he's going back in the. Can you imagine? I'm going to send him back. Yes, he's going back into the water, and then still had not caught the fish I was looking for, and then I saw a nibble on the line, and I got kind of excited because as I'm reeling it in, I'm like, this feels like a football, and catching football can only mean one thing, and that is the elusive puffer. But a little too late, a little too small. Just got this one little puffer, and so not a bucket full of puffer. So sad, weep womp. I'm going to let him go back into the water too. So not a bad day at fishing. A good variety. Could have used some bigger. Would have liked a bucket full of puffer, but hey, what are you going to do? I thought I needed to up my game. So I thought I'm going to get some fresh shrimp from Clem's. These are fresh, heads off, tails off, and just cutting them into little pieces, but it's fresh. It's all fresh and ready to go. And what I'm going to do is I've got some OP bait soak, which is OP stands for overly powerful or something like that. Anyway, the bait soak is supposed to make it taste like ghost shrimp. And I do know that fish like ghost shrimp. So I thought, it can't hurt. I've got this extra bag of it. So the idea is you cut about a half a pound of shrimp into little pieces like that, put them into the bag, seal the bag, of course, give it a good shake. And then after you do the shaking part, here we go, let's do the shaking part. Like shake and bake. Remember shake and bake would make the pork chops? Well, this is like pork chops for fish. Shake it up and then let that soak in the bag, and the flavor turns the the shrimp into wonderful flavor. So supposedly, I'm going to pack up the cart. Now, when I go fishing, I just bring my rods and my bucket. But when I bring Kim, we have to bring the dog, and that means we need a lot more things to set up. Can't just bring the rods. We have to bring the cart because I have to bring the dog, and that means that I have to bring the dog's water and the dog's toys. And of course, the dog would get cold, so I would need to bring a heat source to warm up the dog. So I end up dragging much more stuff in my not very expensive and not very pullable cart. And we get it set up with a fire pit. Now, the fire pit was smart because it actually it wasn't as cold, but it kept away the biting flies. There were a lot of flies down there, and that kept them away. So, hey, cool. Set up just a little swirly-whirly right where the water is, and the little rod holders go right in. No need for a hammer. You can just swirly-whirly them in, set up your rods, and we're going to check out this OP bait soak. Now, one thing I noticed about the OP bait soak is it actually almost is like if you ever soaked shrimp in salted, I guess you just say I salted my shrimp. It firms it up a little bit, and the OP bait soak, it's kind of hard to say, actually firms it up a little bit too, so it stays on the hook kind of nice. I had to cast out pretty far because it was low tide. The tide was just starting to come up, but it was pretty low, so I gave it a good cast out there, and I found the spot where there were some whiting. Now again, I'd like a bunch of puffer, but we're gonna do what we can do. And not a bad little whiting, right? He's about a 10th grader, about maybe 10 inches. And you know what you do with 10th graders? You throw them back. Beautiful little whiting, but not the size I want. Now, the thing about whiting is they're in schools, right? So if you catch one, you're going to catch another, which is cool, except for they kind of school up in size too. So I catch another whiting right after that. But guess how big he is? He's a 10th grader too. So I've got 2 10th graders in a row. Nice to have, but again, I'm just going to let him go because I'm looking for something. If I'm going to keep a whiting, I like to keep them in the 12 inches. It's nice. They just get a little fatter and a lot more meat on them. And although I would like some fish tacos, I caught a third one following that. So boom, 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 one after another. Nice to see the whiting or biting. So if you want to get out there with some fresh shrimp, I would suggest you will catch the whiting. And the OP bait soak might have been helping here too. So 3 slippery, very slippery whiting in a row, and then I see something nibbling on the rod, and I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" And again, I feel that little weight to it, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I feel that football. I know what this means. Maybe I'm getting into some puffer." And if you catch one puffer, they school up too. So I catch one puffer when you catch another, and I did catch a puffer, and he was a little small, but he swallowed my hook. Now it's very hard for a fish to gut hook on a circle hook, but he did. So I was like, well, I'm going to keep him. And then everything just kind of dried up. And I was just sitting. I'm like, I've got this one puffer in the bucket. I need to fill the bucket with something else, or how am I going to have fish tacos? And just nothing, just waiting. And then all of a sudden it turned on. And I was actually surprised. I wish I had the moment I got this hit, because all of a sudden it was like, boom, I got a big hit. And I was like, it almost like, I was going to drop the rod. I was like, what's going on? And it was a really nice whiting. I'm like, this is the one I've been waiting for. This is the 12-inch whiting I've been waiting for. So guess where he's going? Not back in the ocean. He's going in the bucket. So now I'm happy. I got the puffer. I got the nice big whiting, and I'm like, and they school up too. So let's cast it out again. And then I cast it out again, and I got another one right after that. So about 11 inches on this one, a little bit shorter, but hey, I'll take 2 in the 12-inch range with the puffer. We're going home. We're having some fish tacos. It's going to be a good night. Now, there's no wrong way to make fish tacos, but some chopped up tomato, you could do cabbage, you could do rice, you could do some lime crema, you could fry the fish, you could grill it, you could blacken it. Let's have some fish tacos.